An older AI model officially beats Harvard doctors in the emergency room. Tech giants fire thousands of workers to fund agentic AI. And Apple signs a historic chip deal with Intel to survive the global hardware crunch. Welcome to this week's Rundown. I am your host, Anna. This podcast is researched and produced by Etienne Noumen, senior software engineer from Université Laval, based in Calgary, Alberta. Today, we perform a forensic autopsy on the week of May 3rd to May 10th, 2026. This week, the artificial intelligence industry began ruthlessly reshaping the physical economy. The white-collar labor purge has accelerated, with Cloudflare and Coinbase cutting up to 20% of their workforces to shift to agentic AI-first operating models. Simultaneously, the sheer scale of AI compute is breaking the global hardware market. The skyrocketing cost of memory chips is collapsing the PC motherboard industry, forcing Apple to secure an emergency U.S. manufacturing deal with Intel, while OpenAI secretly fast-tracks its own AI smartphone to bypass the Apple ecosystem entirely. And in the courtroom, former OpenAI CTO Mira Murati has publicly testified against Sam Altman, exposing deep internal fractures over model safety. But before we dive into the data, I have a brief strategic request. The algorithms governing the app you are listening on right now dictate what intelligence reaches your feed. To ensure you never miss our highest-rated episodes and most critical forensic autopsies, the simplest thing you can do is hit that follow or subscribe button. It is a completely free action that takes just 1 second, but it is the single most effective way to help us scale this independent research and improve the show. Please take a moment on your app right now and hit follow. Thank you. Let's unravel the week.
Before we begin today's briefing, a note for the brands listening. If you want to reach the true architects of the AI revolution, the technical leaders actually building the stack, not just the tourists, DJAMGAMIND offers select premium partnership opportunities. Let us position your product directly in front of the ultimate technical buyer. Visit jamgamind.com/partners.
Imagine you run this massive, incredibly complex factory. You're putting in a state-of-the-art automated conveyor belt, and you're just incredibly excited about the efficiency of it all.
Right, you're focused on the shiny new tech.
Exactly. But while you're distracted by the machinery, these contractors are quietly, dismantling the management offices.
Yeah.
They're replacing the human floor supervisors with this sleek, silent, black box.
Yeah.
So the factory is suddenly pumping out product faster than ever, but you're just standing there on the floor wondering, who is actually making the decisions here?
That is honestly a much more accurate visual for the structural transformation we're looking at today. It's a fundamental rewiring of the economy that is, well, it's almost invisible until your specific department vanishes.
Right.
We're calling this overarching narrative the automation squeeze. And I'm putting on my forensic business strategist and digital rights advocate hats for this deep dive.
Love it.
Because we're analyzing a week of news, specifically May 3rd to May 10th, 2026, that really proves the AI industry is causing massive systemic damage. And that's to both legacy hardware supply chains and human labor.
And we have a massive stack of sources to prove it. I mean, we're looking at Q1 earnings reports. We've got leaked legal depositions, global supply chain projections, and this brand new clinical study out of Harvard.
It's a lot of ground to cover.
It really is. We are doing a full forensic autopsy on the week's intelligence. Okay, let's unpack this. We really have to start with the human toll, right? The white-collar purge.
We absolutely have to start there. Because AI is no longer just this, neat productivity tool you use to draft an email or summarize a PDF.
Yeah, it's way past that.
Right. It has been explicitly weaponized into a corporate restructuring tool. I mean, we saw 2 brutal case studies just this week.
The numbers are staggering.
They are. Cloudflare laid off 1,100 workers, that is 20% of their entire staff. And then Coinbase cut 700 jobs, which amounts to 14% of their workforce.
What's wild to me is the transparency. I mean, on the earnings call, Cloudflare CEO didn't even do that vague thing where they blame macroeconomic headwinds.
No, they were very direct.
Yeah, they cited a 600% jump in their internal use of AI. They said they're moving to what they call an agentic AI-first operating model.
Which is quite the phrase.
Right. And Coinbase is doing something really similar. They are completely flattening their org chart. They're implementing these one-person teams.
Right, where a single human uses AI to just blend engineering, design, and product management all together.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, agentic AI-first operating model is essentially a boardroom smokescreen. It's a way of justifying permanently evaporating jobs that will never come back.
Yeah, just totally gone.
As a strategist, I look at that phrase and I see a financial maneuver, not a technological one. My empathy is entirely with the workforce here. I mean, think about the actual mechanics of a one-person team.
Walk us through it.
Okay, so a single product designer writes a prompt. Then the AI generates the back-end code, it provisions the cloud servers, and it runs the A/B testing.
Wow.
Right. The traditional handoffs between project managers, front-end developers, and QA testers, they're just gone.
It's like the transition from human telephone operators manually plugging wires into switchboards to automated routing systems.
That's a great analogy.
Like the middle layer isn't being violently extracted. The necessity for that role just quietly evaporates overnight.
Yes. And the psychological tension this creates in the workforce is just staggering. Gallup just released a poll surveying almost 24,000 U.S. workers.
What did they find?
Well, 65% of the people actively using AI say it boosts their productivity. They genuinely like the assistance.
Sure, it makes the day-to-day easier.
Exactly. But underneath that, there is this massive, paralyzing fear of automation. Because workers are trying to use AI to help them do their jobs faster,
Right.
while employers are looking at the exact same software and asking, how does this do the job for them?
Which perfectly explains Google's latest move.
Yes, the Project Mariner shutdown.
Right, so they just shut down Project Mariner, which was their experimental AI agent that surfs the web for you. But they didn't kill it because it failed.
Far from it.
Yeah, they kill it because it succeeded so well that they just folded those features directly into Search and Gemini. And now they're internally testing a new agent codenamed Remy.
And Remy is not a chatbot.
No, not at all. Remy is a 24/7 proactive personal assistant. It monitors your life, reads your emails, and literally takes actions on your behalf without you asking.
What's fascinating here is the causality of that shift. A proactive agent fundamentally breaks the old internet model.
Right, because you don't need to search anymore.
Exactly. Just look at Ask.com. After 25 years, they officially shut down their search business this week.
Man, Ask Jeeves, that takes me back.
I know, they pioneered that natural language question format in the 90s, but they are the ultimate casualty of this transition. You just do not need a search engine when you have a 247 agent doing the searching, reasoning, and summarizing for you.
So if you're listening to this and looking at your own company's org chart, you're probably wondering where this ends. We have these agentic models wiping out the middle class of the corporate world.
Right.
But here's the fatal flaw in this software dream. Where do these agents actually live? They don't run on magic.
No, they run on physical silicon.
Exactly. And the physical supply chain is quite literally breaking under the strain.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the software revolution is physically cannibalizing the legacy consumer electronics market. The industry is calling this crisis Ramageddon.
Ramageddon. I mean, I love the branding, but break down the mechanics for us. Why is the hardware market collapsing just because software is getting smarter?
It starts inside the data centers. Frontier AI models process astronomical amounts of data, right? And to do that quickly, they require massive pools of DDR5 RAM.
Okay, and DDR5 is a specific type of memory.
Yes, it offers incredibly high bandwidth. It allows the processor to pull data sets in and out almost instantly. Standard memory creates a huge bottleneck.
Ah, got it.
So because Microsoft, Amazon, and Google are hoarding all the DDR5 RAM on the global market to feed their models, prices are just skyrocketing for everyone else.
And that ripples out to the consumer. Because Taiwan's biggest motherboard makers, ASUS, ASRock, Gigabyte, MSI, they all just slashed their 2026 shipment projections by 25 to 30%.
Which is massive.
It's huge. The DIY PC builder market is dying because regular people literally cannot afford to buy memory anymore. It's so bad that NVIDIA is reportedly canceling its upcoming RTX 50 Super graphics card lineup entirely, just to reallocate components.
And the squeeze is hitting the trillion-dollar hardware giants, too. Apple is facing a massive crisis right now with the new $599 MacBook Neo.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
They ordered 10 million units, which instantly drained their A18 Pro chip inventory. Now, they are hitting a brick wall because TSMC, the world's biggest chip fabricator in Taiwan, they don't have enough 3-nanometer capacity left.
Okay, so 3-nanometer manufacturing means the transistors are microscopic, right?
Yes.
Letting you pack more power into a smaller space without overheating.
Exactly. But there are only so many machines on Earth that can print them. And AI server chips are eating all the time on those machines.
So Apple is forced to make this huge geopolitical pivot. They are now in early talks with Samsung to build chips in Texas.
Right.
And they just signed a preliminary chip deal with Intel. The U.S. government, specifically the Trump administration, heavily pushed Tim Cook at the White House to secure this Intel deal. Apple is just desperately trying to escape its reliance on TSMC because the global AI demand is a chokehold on their supply chain.
It's a scramble for survival in the physical world.
Yeah.
I mean, while legacy companies like Apple are starving for silicon, the AI disruptors are just deciding to build their own hardware from scratch.
Yeah, OpenAI is doing exactly that.
All right, OpenAI is fast-tracking a custom AI smartphone with MediaTek. They're aiming to mass-produce 30 million units by 2027, and they're using a dual NPU architecture to pull this off.
Just to pause on that for you listening, an NPU, a neural processing unit, is basically a math specialist.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like, unlike a standard CPU that handles tasks sequentially, one by one, an NPU is explicitly designed to handle thousands of parallel math calculations simultaneously. That is exactly what a localized AI model needs to run on your phone without draining your battery in 5 minutes.
Precisely. And to design these complex new chips, the industry is feeding the problem right back into itself.
Oh, this is the Bill Daly thing.
Yes, NVIDIA's chief scientist, Bill Daly, was just on stage explaining how he uses AI models to design their new arithmetic circuits and chip layouts.
The AI is doing the heavy lifting of routing the microscopic pathways on the silicon.
Exactly.
Wait, I gotta push back here. We have AI designing the silicon chips to build the dedicated NPU phones to run more advanced AI models.
Right.
This sounds like a completely closed loop. Doesn't this leave human hardware engineers totally sidelined? Like, if the machine builds its own brain, what does the engineer do?
Well, I wouldn't say human engineers are sidelined. They're being forced to move up the stack.
Yeah.
A human engineer is no longer manually placing arithmetic circuits on a board, just like a software developer is no longer writing boilerplate code.
They become the director.
Exactly. The human defines the overarching goals and constraints, while the AI handles the granular execution. But fueling that closed loop requires astronomical amounts of electricity and server racks.
Right.
That is why Anthropic just struck a massive compute deal with Elon Musk's SpaceX for access to the Colossus 1 data center.
Which is just an incredible detail, considering Elon Musk was texting people not too long ago calling Anthropic misanthropic and a threat to civilization.
Well, ideological friction completely evaporates when you need a gigawatt of power to train a next-generation model.
So true.
But there is a fatal reality to this closed-loop hardware dream. Designing custom chips, hoarding TSMC's 3-nanometer supply, and powering Colossus 1, it burns cash at a rate the tech industry has literally never seen.
Yeah, you cannot fund Ramageddon with $20 monthly software subscriptions.
You need nation-state levels of money.
Which brings us to the financial war. These frontier AI labs are mutating. To secure that physical footprint, they are transforming from Silicon Valley research labs into entities that closely resemble Wall Street private equity firms.
Oh, absolutely. Look at the sheer scale of the capital moving this week. Anthropic just sealed a $1.5 billion joint venture with Blackstone, Goldman Sachs, and Hellman & Friedman.
Wow.
They are embedding the Claude AI directly into the portfolio companies owned by these private equity giants. And OpenAI did the exact same thing with their Deployco spinoff, pulling $4 billion from PE firms.
What really caught my eye in the sources is that OpenAI gave those private equity firms a guaranteed 17.5% annualized return.
Which is unheard of for a typical startup.
Exactly. A guaranteed return at that level means they aren't acting like a tech startup hoping for a buyout. They are operating like a hedge fund. Are they essentially building an AI that replaces the PE consultants themselves?
Yes, especially if you look at the mechanics of what they are releasing. OpenAI just launched GPT 5.5 Instant as the default in ChatGPT.
Right.
And their marketing specifically highlights that it drastically cuts down hallucinations in sensitive, high-stakes fields like corporate law and finance.
Okay, so think about that. A human private equity consultant might spend 3 weeks manually analyzing a target company's data room just to find operational inefficiencies.
Right. It's tedious work.
But GPT 5.5 Instant ingests the entire company's history in seconds and just maps out a restructuring plan. They are monopolizing the intelligence layer of the financial sector.
They really are.
So what does this all mean for the broader economy? Let me try an analogy here. Amazon recently launched Amazon Supply Chain Services.
Right, opening up their internal network.
Exactly. They opened up their massive internal logistics network. We're talking 100 cargo planes, 80,000 trailers to outside businesses. It's an all-out war on UPS and FedEx.
Yeah.
Amazon uses algorithmic efficiency to remove human dispatchers and find the absolute fastest physical route for a cardboard box. OpenAI and Anthropic are applying that exact same algorithmic efficiency to enterprise consulting.
That's a perfect parallel.
They are finding the absolute fastest financial route to profitability for a portfolio company, bypassing the human analysts entirely.
It is the ruthless optimization of routing, whether you're routing physical goods or capital. But, when you aggressively squeeze human labor with one-person teams, and when you hoard all the physical hardware causing Ramageddon, and when you rapidly consolidate billions in private equity, the human layer is going to rebel. Friction is just inevitable.
And we are seeing that friction explode into courtroom mutinies across every single level of society this week. Let's look at the executive level first. The Sam Altman depositions leaked.
Oh, this was massive.
Former OpenAI CTO Mira Murati gave video testimony stating she explicitly did not trust Sam Altman. She testified that he lied to her about an internal safety board clearing a new GPT model for deployment. She was forced to bypass him and send it to the board herself.
The internal power struggles are spilling directly into the public record. We also learned from Greg Brockman, OpenAI's president, that his equity stake is currently valued at almost $30 billion.
$30 billion? That's absurd.
And Elon Musk's legal team submitted text messages where Musk warned Brockman that he and Altman were on track to become the most hated men in America. The original nonprofit open-source safety mission has been completely consumed by the massive financial incentives required to fund the compute.
But the mutiny isn't just happening in the C-suite, it's happening on the laboratory floor, too. Google DeepMind workers in London officially voted to unionize this week.
A huge deal.
Mechanically speaking, they are organizing specifically to block their AI research from being sold to the U.S. and Israeli militaries. This is a massive internal labor revolt within the most prestigious AI lab on Earth.
And outside the laboratories, the creators who unknowingly fueled this technology are revolting too. 5 major book publishers, including Hachette and Macmillan, filed a massive lawsuit against Meta.
And crucially, they aren't just suing the corporate entity. They are suing Mark Zuckerberg personally.
Right.
They are accusing him of explicitly authorizing the piracy of millions of copyrighted books to train the Llama AI platform.
Meanwhile, regular consumers are fighting back against the hype machine as well. Apple just agreed to pay a $250 million class action settlement.
Because they overpromised?
Exactly. They overpromised and severely delayed the Siri AI features that they literally used to market and sell the previous generation of iPhones. Even the regulators are slamming the brakes now.
Yeah, the Trump White House is drafting an executive order to set up a federal working group to strictly review new frontier models before public release.
And the catalyst for that executive order is really critical to understand. Anthropic developed an internal model called Mythos. It was apparently so proficient at autonomously discovering and exploiting software security flaws that Anthropic voluntarily withheld it from the public over severe cyber attack risks. When Washington realized a private company was sitting on a zero-day vulnerability machine, they moved to intervene.
Man, if you're listening to this right now, taking in the sheer volume of chaos, executives turning on each other, laborers unionizing, publishers suing over mass piracy, hardware markets collapsing, you have to ask, why doesn't this whole thing just implode?
It's a fair question.
Why does society tolerate this massive disruption instead of just unplugging the servers?
This raises an important question, and the answer is rooted in pure utility. Society tolerates the friction because the technology is successfully crossing over into undeniable, life-altering capabilities.
Right.
The clinical and real-world triumphs are just so profound that they override the structural damage.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I read the methodology on the new Harvard medical study published in Science this week. I had to read it 3 times because the premise sounded like science fiction.
It's incredible research.
They took OpenAI's O1 reasoning model and tested it against board-certified emergency room physicians using real historical patient data from a Massachusetts hospital. The AI matched or beat the human attending physicians in diagnosis, triage, and next-step care decisions.
Yeah.
But my question is, how? ER triage relies so heavily on observation, right? Seeing a patient sweat or hearing the wheeze in their chest. How does an AI that can't see the patient outdiagnose a veteran doctor?
It really comes down to the synthesis of unstructured data under pressure. Think about it in an emergency room. The incoming data is chaotic. You have messy medical notes, incomplete patient histories, and conflicting lab results.
Yeah, it's a lot coming at you fast.
The human brain struggles to cross-reference all of that instantly, but the AI excelled at synthesizing those messy text notes and instantly comparing them against tens of thousands of medical journals to spot rare interactions or symptoms.
Things that a human doctor, acting on exhaustion and instinct, might miss.
Exactly. Now, the researchers clearly noted the AI's lack of visual and auditory cues as a limitation, but on pure cognitive reasoning, it outperformed.
So we have a technology that can match a Harvard doctor's diagnostic reasoning in life-or-death scenarios. But at the exact same time, it's aggressively embedding itself into the most mundane parts of your daily routine.
The ambient integration.
Yes, the ambient integration this week is everywhere. OpenAI released GPT Real-Time 2, which translates and transcribes live speech instantly with almost zero latency. ByteDance pushed their Seedance 2.0 video generator to hundreds of millions of TikTok users globally.
The walls of the walled gardens are coming down, too. Apple announced that this fall, with iOS 27, they're going to allow iPhone and Mac owners to pick third-party AI models to run deep inside their operating systems.
Wow.
The ecosystem is simply too big and the consumer demand too high for any one company to restrict access.
Just look at what Spotify did. They opened up their platform to allow users to generate highly personal AI podcasts.
I saw that.
You give an agent like Codex or Claude Code access to your digital life, your class notes, your emails, your calendar, and it synthesizes that data into a private conversational audio show delivered right to your Spotify library. The technology that beats doctors is making a fake radio show about your Tuesday dentist appointment.
And the hardware companies are racing to capture the physical biometric data to fill these ambient agents. Google launched the Fitbit Air. It's a $100 screenless wearable that just sits on your wrist.
Totally invisible.
Right. It disappears into the background while it monitors your vitals, heart rate, and sleep metrics 247. Meta is taking ambient monitoring a step further, deploying AI age detection software that passively scans the faces and scrolling behaviors of users to identify teenagers and enforce restrictions.
It's total seamless integration into the background of our lives. So to bring this all together for you listening, we started with the white-collar purges at Cloudflare and Coinbase, unpacking how agentic AI is replacing middle management with one-person super teams.
Right.
We tracked how that software demand broke the physical world, causing a Ramageddon that squeezed Apple and forced engineers to use AI to design the next generation of silicon chips.
We covered a lot of ground.
We really did. We watched Anthropic and OpenAI mutate into Wall Street heavyweights to fund their data centers. And we navigated the fierce courtroom mutinies, all while the technology quietly beat our best doctors and wove itself into our watches, our phones, and our Spotify feeds.
It is the automation squeeze playing out across every layer of the economy. The old structures are being dismantled while the new ones are being generated in real time.
Which is terrifying and amazing.
It is, which leaves us with a critical, somewhat chilling question for you to consider as you navigate this shift.
Let's hear it.
If an AI can now act as a proactive 24/7 agent, if it can synthesize chaotic data to diagnose you in the emergency room, and if it can even design the microscopic circuitry required to build its own successors, what is the core, fundamentally human skill you need to cultivate to survive and thrive in an agentic-first economy?
Man, that is the question we all have to answer. Because as we look around this factory floor we're standing on, the old management offices are definitely gone. The black box is running the line now. We just have to figure out our new role in the production.
That concludes our weekly forensic briefing. The strategic signal for this week is the cost of restructuring. The headlines this week prove that the AI revolution is not just a software update. It is a violent restructuring of capital and labor. When companies like Cloudflare openly fire a fifth of their staff because autonomous agents are doing the heavy lifting, the future of work has officially arrived. Meanwhile, the physical limitations of the supply chain, from RAM shortages to Apple turning to Intel, show that whoever controls the hardware and the energy grid will ultimately dictate the pace of this new economy. If you want to own your infrastructure instead of being managed by it, check the show notes for the AI Executive Toolkit. And as a special bonus for our community, we have exclusive discount codes for Google Workspace and My AI and Machine Learning Tutor Pro apps. You can find the email address to claim those directly in the show notes below. Subscribe to the DJAMGAMIND channel on Apple Podcasts to always listen completely ads-free. I am Anna. Stay sharp and keep unraveling the future.
And before you go, if your company is building the tools that power the workflows we talked about today, I'd love to showcase them to this audience. We don't just run ads, we build technical simulations that prove your value. Let's build something together. Visit jamgamind.com/partners to get started. Until next time, keep building.